Now then, Vinyl Monkey here again, video number 101. Thanks to all those who watched and commented on my 100th anniversary video. Have a look at it if you didn't see it last time. So this time I'm going to continue with my little series of my favourite Van Morrison songs from each decade. And this time it's the 80s, which is perhaps my favourite decade. I'm not saying it's his strongest songs. I think they were possibly in the 70s, although there's been strong songs through every decade. 45 albums, and there's not an album without some great songs on it of all those 45. So it's very difficult, stroke impossible, but it's just a bit of fun, bit of talking point. And I'm going to pick my top 10 favourite songs from the 80s. Before I do, I think I mentioned a few videos ago I was having loads of health issues, in and out of scans and tests and all the rest of it. Well, I got the results of those, and I mentioned this not for any sympathy or comment on it particularly, but on Friday I did get the results, and unfortunately it did confirm that I've got prostate cancer, which is fairly well developed and aggressive, but hopefully, and I've got to see the surgeon and get another scan and one thing or another, but hopefully they're going to be able to have a go at it. And the only reason I mention it really is that is to encourage people, and I guess a lot of people who watch these videos will be my age or thereabouts, certainly over 50, not all but many. And it is just to urge people to, men particularly, to get their prostate checked. It doesn't take much to get an easy blood check or anything like that. I did get it checked about 12 years ago and got a sort of all clear then, but I should have been monitoring this thing on the way through. But anyway, there we are. Get them checked, the earlier the better for these type of things. But anyway, onwards and upwards, here we go with Van Morrison through the 80s. First of all, I just wanted to mention there's only one of his studio albums in the 1980s from which I haven't picked a song, and that's his collaboration with the Chieftains, Irish Heartbeat. Brilliant album, brilliant collaboration as well. I mean, I've seen Van Morrison and the Chieftains when they toured this album when it came out, and what a brilliant show. And they definitely, Paddy Maloney and the Chieftains definitely had an impact on Morrison. I don't think, certainly not in his 80s period, I'd never seen him smile so much. I mean, that's not to say that this relationship wasn't without its issues. I was reading actually somewhere an old interview with the Chieftains about their work with Morrison, and their flautist Matt Malloy described Morrison as a complete C word. I don't know whether I can say that on YouTube. I don't know what the rules are on really bad swearing. So anyway, yeah, Matt Malloy. But fantastic album, and I would have picked, I mean, there's no doubt I would have picked a couple of songs off this in the top 10. I certainly would have picked Raglan Road, his brilliant interpretation of Patrick Kavanagh's poem. But in this little series of Van Morrison things, I'm only picking songs that he's wrote. I mean, he's covered, you know, he covers the odd songs here and there, and I'm not including those. So I'm only including Van Morrison penned songs, and that's why there's nothing off this brilliant album. So at number 10, from the album Avalon Sunset from 1989, I've got the track Cory Island, which is a spoken word track. It's about a tour, it's a poem about a tour in his mum's car as a kid, going bird watching around County Down, and references all these places. They stopped for jars and mussels and potted herring along the way. And it's just a gorgeous poem, but with a brilliant last verse and a brilliant last line, which is, wouldn't it be great if it were like this all the time? Very profound. I've seen Van Morrison performed this in a tiny venue in Balahi in Northern Ireland, in the Seamus Heaney Centre, a little art centre that Seamus Heaney had set up in his home village. And of course the irony was not lost on Van Morrison, and it was a brilliant performance. That you've seen a very, very different when he's playing in such an intimate audience, a small audience, a very different sort of personality, side of his personality that I've never seen when he's playing on bigger venues. But he was really self-deprecating, and towards the end of his, I mean, this is a beautiful poem. I think that it stands up, and it's a great track, and that's why I've got it at number 10. But towards the end of it, he couldn't stop sort of laughing, I think, at the irony of playing this in the hall built by one of the greatest poets of all time, really. And he said at the end, he said, "Did I really write this crap?" But it's not crap, it's superb stuff. Cory Island from Avalon Sunset. My number 9 comes from the album Beautiful Vision from 1982, and this is the track Vanl Stairway, which is this sort of spiritual, transcendental meditation, which I'd always assumed was sort of Van seeking, access to this mythical stairway to gain, access to a higher sort of plane almost. But the reality, I mean, it's a beautiful song, and I've really enjoyed this live, particularly when I've seen him with Georgie Fame. It's a really, really great song, atmospheric. But the reality about the song is much more mundane. Vanloo's is actually a district of Copenhagen. Van was apparently going out with a lass from the Vanloo's district of Copenhagen. She lived on the 4th floor. The lift was always broken, and so he was complaining about having to climb up the Vanl stairway every time he went to see her. But anyway, he's dragged something beautiful out of that mundane sort of scenario, and that's my number 9, Vanl Stairway. My number 8 comes from the superb album No Guru, No Method, No Teacher, and this is the song Tiano. Tiano is a mythical sort of Irish island paradise, everlasting youth and beauty. The air is filled with poetry and music. It's just this ideal sort of place, and this song is just a gorgeous journey into Irish mythology. Really, it's absolutely beautiful. Tiano, first track on side 2 of No Guru, No Method, No Teacher from 1986. My number 7 is the title track from A Sense of Wonder, and isn't this one of the weirdest, worst record covers of all time? I mean, it's unique in that Van's actually got a sort of smile on his face, but he's peering out between some sort of gap in a hedgerow, and he looks oddly dressed as far as you can tell on the front there, but when you see the back, he's sort of dressed in, I don't know, it looks like some Zorro or something like that, some cape and hat, and really weird stroke poor cover. But the title track, A Sense of Wonder, this is a personal meditation on finding a sense of wonder amongst the mundane memories and images of his childhood, and it's just absolutely beautifully rendered. His backing band on this track, he uses on a couple of tracks from this album, is Moving Hearts, Christy Moore's brilliant Irish sort of folk rock band, and it gives it a bit of a different sound. Maybe spoilt by a little bit of thin production, this album generally, but great track, beautiful stuff, and along with the opening track, Tore Down a la Rambo, my favourite track on this album. So that's A Sense of Wonder from the title track from 1985. My number 6 is the opening track from this brilliant album, Common One, which got pretty much panned by the critics at the time, and But this is, I mean, I think one of the reasons they panned it was because this is really a sort of, it's almost a jazz album, really. A couple of the tracks are 15 minutes. Haunts of Ancient Peace, opening the album, just goes so slowly, and so beautifully slowly, that it's an odd choice for an opener for an album. And I think many people, probably the critics who were rushing through albums, probably didn't get past the first 5 minutes of it. But absolutely gorgeous. The bass playing by David Hayes is fantastic. The choral backing vocals, brilliant. And he's got he's brought in Mark Isham on trumpet. He's sort of minimalist, Miles Davis-esque trumpet player, and Pee Wee Ellis on saxophone. And Pee Wee Ellis, both Ellis and Isham, brilliant on this track and other tracks on this album. Give it a listen. In Haunts of Ancient Peace. It's a quote from a poem by Tennyson, I think. But yeah, superb stuff. My number 5 comes from this album, Inarticulate Speech of the Heart, and it's another sort of spoken word one almost, Rave on John Donne, which is a brilliant streams of consciousness, spoken word song, celebrating poets through the ages and across the globe. Absolutely gorgeous. Again, Isham and Pee Wee Ellis come in and make this just sound absolutely stunning. I've got it as my number 5, Rave on John Donne from 1983's Inarticulate Speech of the Heart. My number 4 is a simple love song, Someone Like You, from the album Poetic Champions Compose from 1987. And I think in any other hands, you know, you might listen to this song and look at the lyrics and think that's a bit corny, but Van Morrison can't do corny. He couldn't do corny if he tried. Whether you like Van Morrison or not, I don't think anybody would dispute that he's real, he's serious. He doesn't muck about. What he says is what he feels, and therefore that makes this simple love song just all the more beautiful. It's sort of a bit reminiscent of Have I Told You Lately That I Love You. It precedes that song, but I think this one is much less played. That one's maybe over, you know, you hear that one everywhere and you get a bit sort of tired of it, but this is lovely. Someone Like You, my number 4 from Poetic Champions Compose. Then my number 3, I'm going to have to go back through these albums. My number 3 comes again from Beautiful Vision. This is Dweller on the Threshold. This is uplifting. This is joyous. This is about, I guess, somebody, yeah, on the threshold of discovery, whether that's discovery, spirituality, meaning, love, I don't know, but that feeling of of excitement and being there on the edge of discovery is just beautifully rendered in this song. There's some gorgeous staccato sort of horns in there. Lovely uplifting stuff. My number 3, Dweller on the Threshold from Beautiful Vision. My number 2, I'm going back to this album, and it's the second track on the album, and it's Summertime in England. I wondered about having this one at number 1. Actually, it's an absolute masterpiece. It's one of those tracks where, foolishly, when I got this album the day it came out, and I just got absolutely hooked on that track. The first track, which I mentioned earlier, is a grower. You know, it's slow and it's beautiful, but I just always wanted to get to play this track. And so, you know, when you put the needle down on the same bloody, trying to put it on track 2, and so there is quite a few bad clicks on this album at the beginning of that track. But anyway, it is a masterpiece. Van Morrison, he just does everything in this. He speaks, he yells, he sings, he croons, he recites. He's just it's the whole gamut of Morrison styles and emotions, and which he lets loose in this 15-minute song. And seeing it live quite a few times, where he extends it even beyond that sort of time frame. Absolutely stunning. And what he's doing is he's summoning the sort of some of the poets, Wordsworth and Coleridge, Joyce, Yeats, T.S. Eliot. He's summoning them to the spiritual heart of England, in Avalon, in wherever that is, Somerset, is it? Glastonbury was around at the time, and it's just absolutely marvellous stuff. Unique, never really heard anything like it. Could have been my number one, but I've got it as my number two. So, what is my number one? Well, it comes again from this superb album, No Guru, No Method, No Teacher, and it's the track In the Garden. And it, I think this one references back to Astral Weeks, some of the lyrics, and certainly some of the style, and David Hayes' bass playing on here. Echoes that sort of jazz acoustic bass playing that was prominent on Astral Weeks, and it's just 5.5 minutes of majestic sort of perfection. It's meditative, it's contemplative, it's trance-inducing, searching. The whispered bridge in the middle of it is just spine-tinglingly beautiful. Just all around, it's just fantastic, and I think it's one of those cornerstone songs that sort of link Van Morrison right through his career. In the Garden, from No Guru, No Method, No Teacher, from what year was that? 1986, wasn't it? But yeah, brilliant stuff. Thanks for watching. See you next time, hopefully. Comments welcome. Cheers. Ta-da.